Hey Kidzone kids. So last week we talked about how Jesus died on the cross for our sins and then he came back to life. So that was big. Like that changed everything when Jesus came back to life. It changed the way people thought about God, and he made a way for us to have a relationship with God without our sin being in the way. And that's not all. Jesus also changed the way people thought about how they should treat others. So the Apostle Paul wrote about that in a letter he wrote to the church in Philippi. We call it the book of Philippians. Paul wrote this letter for a bunch of reasons, one of which that he couldn't visit the Philippians himself because he was in prison. Paul loved to remind people of Jesus' example. He wanted to encourage them to live like Jesus did. So this is a verse from the book of Philippians. It says, "Don't do anything to get ahead. Instead, be humble. Value others more than yourselves. As you deal with one another, you should think and act as Jesus did." Jesus was equal with God, but Jesus didn't take advantage of that fact. Instead, he made himself nothing. He did this by taking on the nature of a servant. He appeared as a man. He was humble and obeyed God completely. He did this even though it led to his death. So those are some really wise words. Notice that Paul went back to Jesus' example. He said that we should look at the way Jesus showed humility, and then we can choose to be humble ourselves. But what does it really look like to live that way? What does it look like to value others more than yourself? So I'm going to show you guys a few different scenarios that I think might look a bit familiar to you. Now, I know that no one here acts selfishly, right? Because maybe you want things to go a certain way, and I know none of you have ever let your feelings get out of control and have something you wish you hadn't. Anyone? But maybe, just maybe, you've experienced something like this. Hey, did you get all your homework done? Uh-huh. You got all of it done? I only got like a little bit left. Okay, I need you to finish your homework and then feed the dog. Uh-huh. Now, she's super hungry. She's pawing at her bowl. Yeah, but there's like 5 more minutes left in my show. Have you moved from that spot? Yeah, there's only 5 more minutes left. You said that an hour ago. Good thing your little brother fed the dog for you. What about your homework? I'll do it, all right? No, not all right. Okay, no screens for the rest of the night. What? I was totally gonna do it. That's not fair. You didn't even give me a chance. Plus, I don't even understand the homework. Does that look like something that happens in your house? Probably so. Sometimes you get so caught up in what you're doing that you forget to pay attention to other things. You forget to do simple things that you're supposed to do, like your homework or your chores. When you're thinking about yourself, you definitely don't have time to think about other people, right? And what they might need. So how do we stop thinking about ourselves and start putting others first? Well, let's think about what Paul wrote in the letter. We can start by remembering what Jesus did for us. Then we can choose to follow his example. We can be humble and show others that they're important, by taking our eyes off the screen and actually looking at them when they're talking to us. Take a look at this next scenario. Wow, this restaurant is amazing. I know, my parents own it. It's like our family business. I remember you telling me that. That's so cool. Yeah, my parents make like tons of money. That's great. Do you think we could order? And I get basically whatever I want. Did you see my new phone? Yeah, my parents said I couldn't get a new phone yet. I had another phone, but as soon as the new one came out, my parents bought it for me. So, plus we have a huge flat screen TV, and I can stay up as late as I want and watch YouTube until my eyes go square. Awesome. Hey, maybe we can order some food. So maybe you haven't found yourself in that exact conversation, but you've probably found yourself with someone when they've been bragging. And if someone's like this, you've been involved in what I like to call the one-up challenge. Someone's like, man, like I sat down in one sitting and ate 10 soft tacos, and then your friend's like, man, I knew like someone who ate 13 soft tacos in a sitting, and then someone else was like, yeah, well, they ate 16 burritos, I don't know, and drank 3 sodas. So then you're in this knee deep in this one-up challenge, trying to do better than someone else. It's a bit like bragging with a dash of exaggeration. So instead of bragging, maybe that person could have just let their friend enjoy the restaurant and the food. So like Paul wrote in his letter, when you think back and remember what Jesus did for you, Jesus didn't take advantage of the fact that he's God's son. Instead, he always looked to serve others. So remember, Paul said it this way: Jesus was equal with God, but Jesus didn't take advantage of the fact. Instead, he made himself nothing. He did that by taking on the nature of a servant. So the bottom line today is put others first because Jesus put us first. So with God's help, we can do it. So I encourage you guys this week, remember, put others first because Jesus put you and I first. Have an awesome rest of your week, and we'll see you next Sunday.